Welcome back to Watch the Bookerman and to episode number 58 of Paul Heyman's TNA 2010. It's not long we're going to be able to call it that, however, because of course we are in December, the final pay-per-view of what I think has been a really great year for the company. So much has changed, as you can see with that pay-per-view card that's on the screen. Let's get into the show. We are back in the Impact Zone for what I think will be the last time in terms of pay-per-view. I'm planning to keep Impact tapings in the Impact Zone just because I like the idea of having that home base. As well as that, we have another huge announcement on the show, completely unrelated and unpromoted, but hopefully one that people will be happy to see. And we begin the pay-per-view itself with a video package looking back at some of the major events of 2010. We really want this to be a strong show to put a nice bookend on what has been such a great year, beginning with Paul Heyman's arrival in TNA, Kurt Angle winning the World Heavyweight Championship at Lockdown, the Dream Team coming together at Slammiversary, and of course the New Age's arrival at Bound for Glory are just some of the moments that are replayed during the package before the commentators welcome the viewers to the show. Mauro Ranallo and Taz put over the incredible year that TNA has had and tell viewers on good authority that the boys and girls in the back are desperate for tonight's show to go down as another showcase of the most talented roster in pro wrestling today. They also confirmed that huge announcement from Paul Heyman, who will address the Impact Zone on tonight's show. Not something I often like to do on pay-per-view, but tonight is one where I want to hopefully hype up the crowd even more with a Paul Heyman promo before the two final matches when it comes to that incredible in-ring action that has defined the company's year so far. There is no better way to kick off this show than AJ Styles versus Tyler Black in the opener. And I just wanted to kick off with a match that feels to me like exactly what this whole vision is about. Young, hungry, aggressive AJ Styles and Tyler Black perfectly exemplify that, but within story they are coming from completely different perspectives. AJ standing up for the company, he likes it as it is, it has been where he's built his name and his career, whereas Tyler Black sees a very different future for the company. And it's 20.5 minutes, the two guys going all out to open this show with an absolutely brilliant bout. A superb match according to the game. Tyler Black defeats AJ Styles clean, says God's last gift, but we're trying to get over that stomp as a finisher. AJ Styles with an 80, Tyler Black with only a 64, but I'm confident that these clean, decisive victories, that's the key. This is a decisive win, no outside involvement. Jimmy Jacobs doesn't even come with Tyler Black to the ring. He wanted to make a point that he could do this alone, and he did exactly that. The very first match in this series was Kurt Angle v Desmond Wolfe, and I felt that put across what we wanted from this company. More hard-hitting, more physical, aggressive in-ring action. The other side of that coin is guys like AJ Styles and Tyler Black, who with an 81 rated match really have wowed the fans to kick off the show, and Tyler Black has his arm raised by the referee. The commentators putting over the fact that members of the New Age have now pinned all three of those TNA Dream Team guys within their first 2 months in the company. Despite having taken both Jeff Hardy and Sting out of action, Tyler Black doesn't look to continue the hostilities post-match, instead standing tall over his opponent. The face of TNA Wrestling remains unmoved in the ring, having been hit with that stomp. The commentators further emphasising the dominance of the New Age since their arrival at 10-10-10, Bound for Glory, the night that everything changed. It was also the night when Mickie James and Tara became the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, and they retain their titles tonight against the Beautiful People in 9 minutes and 31. Once again, it's Mickie James with the decisive fall for her team, but there's an excuse for Tara tonight. She is sprayed in the eyes when the referee is distracted by Velvet Sky. However, Mickie James returns the favour while the referee is checking on Tara, who is screaming and obviously can't see. Mickie James picks up the spray and sprays it in the eyes of Angelina Love. That leaves us with essentially a one-on-one match, and Mickie James hits the roundhouse kick for defense number 2 of the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championships. Mickie James carrying the in-ring performance. That's kind of the storyline of her tag team with Tara, but it's also actually what's playing out in the matches. Happy with that as a decent second match of the night. Mickie James has her arm raised in the ring, but is of course concerned for her partner first and foremost, Tara being sprayed in the eyes during the match. Despite the obvious pain, we can see that Tara is happy when Mickey lets her know that they've won. Eventually, Tara regains enough visibility to stand in the ring, joining Mickie James in raising those tag team titles high in the air. I think their reign already is reaping benefits for the Knockouts tag team division, and it is just a case now of me trying to find other teams and build up other duos to be credible challengers. Before the third match of the pay-per-view, Mauro and Taz go into the ongoing rivalry between Kazuchika Okada and Roderick Strong. Larry Sweeney's arrival on the scene as the United States-based agent of Kazuchika Okada drew a wedge between the two guys who, within their first couple of months, were actually friends. They teamed up on a couple of occasions. It looked like they could actually be forming a partnership, but Roderick Strong maintained his desire to fight his own battles. He didn't want to be part of Sweet and Sour, but it can't be denied that the newcomer to the US, Kazuchika Okada, has benefited from Larry Sweeney's guiding hand, holding the X Division Championship, which Roderick Strong lost at Slammiversary. Both men were involved in that X Division extravaganza at Bound for Glory and have rekindled their rivalry as captains of their respective nations in the World X Cup. Roderick Strong pinned Kazuchika Okada during the Captain's Elimination match a few weeks ago. That was the match that sent Team USA to the Final Four. If he hadn't got that fall, there would be no Team USA in the World X Cup final. A 15-minute time limit draw on Saturday night's Explosion just 24 hours ago ensured that it would be Team Japan versus Team USA in that World X Cup final. However, tonight, the X Division Championship is on the line. Whether you consider that more or less prestigious than the World X Cup, it's certainly a very, very important match for the two as we go into the third match of the night. And the match doesn't actually go as long as that 15-minute time limit draw, which might seem a little bit counterintuitive, but the idea throughout the match is that Roderick Strong has been putting in so much work that the fatigue is clear. He's struggling from perhaps a niggling injury from the previous night's Explosion. Really, Kazuchika Okada is in control of much of the match. Roderick Strong, however, finds a second wind and hits a sick kick to Kazuchika Okada that puts the champion down. However, during the match, when Austin Creed was just stood there watching, Yoshihashi and Kiyoshi, the Team Japan teammates of Kazuchika Okada, came down to the ring. The idea that they were just scouting, but there was no sign of Nick or Matt Jackson, which perhaps hints that they're not quite the tightly knit group that Team Japan are. And actually, they produce a USA flag, which when Roderick Strong goes for the pin after this sick kick, they throw over the referee and he therefore can't see. Once he gets out of it, Kazuchika Okada is able to kick out, but at 2. So the idea being there, Roderick Strong would be the X Division champion had it not been for that slightly convoluted spot. Okada then comes back and hits he's been using a suplex as his finisher, so we'll say he hits that once again, or a bit of a backdrop, and he pins Roderick Strong for the 1-2-3 defense number 3 of the X Division Championship. But you have to say Roderick Strong was screwed out in the process there. There's no question about that. We're not going to do the turns just yet, and he stands tall following his victory, having the X Division Championship returned to him by Larry Sweeney. The two Team Japan members have quickly scarpered, and Austin Creed chooses tonight to stay on the outside, having remained still when Yoshihashi made their presence known. The idea being here that with the whole Team USA thing, we can see from his attire that Austin Creed, he has a patriotic edge to his character, so he's a little bit torn at the minute and is withdrawn from Sweet and Sour, it has to be said. Roderick Strong came so close to victory on the night, but was thwarted by his future World X Cup final rivals. Generation Me, who were nowhere to be seen during the match, do come out and help him to the back. Roderick Strong is clearly in some pain and he's pointing to his neck as he speaks with Nick and Matt Jackson. That World X Cup final will take place on the first Impact of 2011, so just a couple of weeks for Roderick Strong to get back to 100% on what is one of the biggest matches of all 6 of these guys' TNA careers. The fourth match of the night is for the World Tag Team titles and is that so-called dream match. The commentators have been putting this over, but for the two teams involved, this is all about the championships, and given it's only a 74, maybe I'm being a little bit harsh because that is a good rating, but with it being billed so heavily as this tag team dream match, I might have hoped for a little bit better. I will say that Alex Shelley has put in the best performance by far that I've ever seen from him during this save. as does Chris Sabin. I mean, Shelley's nearly up there with Shelton Benjamin, and considering the praise that's been given him since he came to the company, that is really, really good. The steal the show type match, I believe it was, suiting those guys. Charlie Haas lagging behind a little bit, but we get the crowd buzzing. So while it's not up in the 80s, it certainly is a successful match. Great wrestling and good heat. Plenty of near falls, but in 15 minutes and 54, Alex Shelley pins Charlie Haas following a Made in Detroit. Defense number 4 of the World Tag Team titles for Shelley and Sabin as we go into the post-match celebration. Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin heading up the ramp, but nodding towards them. There's a recognition that these two teams definitely have respect for one another, and that WGTT accept that the best team won on the night. Shelley and Sabin give a thumbs up to their opponent, who stop at the top of the ramp and reciprocate the gesture, and the commentators are sure that we'll see these two teams go against each other once again in the future. Both teams know that they've given their all, and the commentators pay tribute to the incredible standard of tag team wrestling in TNA. This moment of positivity is cut short, however, as the Kings of Wrestling appear from behind and take down WGTT. Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli then turn their attention towards the ring. Of course, all 4 of these guys exhausted from the match. Hero and Castagnoli heading to the 6 sides. Once they're in the ring, MCMG look to be proactive. They take the fight to the Kings of Wrestling, but having been in a match, of course, they can't keep up with the fresh and unbooked Hero and Castagnoli. They're, of course, joined by Jimmy Jacobs. Once the World Tag Team Champions are down, the Kings of Wrestling grab the belts from the canvas and raise them in the air. It couldn't be more clear what their intention is. Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli were said to be waiting for the winner of this match, according to Jimmy Jacobs on Impact, and they've wasted no time following that bout. Before the mixed tag team match up next, a video package looks at the issues between Jay Lethal and Matt Morgan, and by association Maria and Madison Rayne. Footage is shown of the beginning of this rivalry when Madison Rayne and Matt Morgan interrupted Jay Lethal's marriage proposal to Maria Kanellis. Since then, Jay Lethal has looked for revenge on Matt Morgan, but has thus far been unsuccessful. The height difference, the size difference in general between the two has been an underlying theme of the rivalry as well, that Matt Morgan has been able to ragdoll Jay Lethal really. Tonight offers him an opportunity to prove his manhood, to get that revenge, and hopefully to get his relationship with Maria back on the straight and narrow. But for now, it is about the match, and it's one that was designed to cool the crowd, and I didn't think it was going to be that great. I just think that you can't just have 8 absolutely incredible in-ring matches one after the other, and I felt that this offered something different. Matt Morgan and Madison Rayne pick up the victory, however. Another bad night for Jay Lethal, but it is Maria Kanellis who gets pinned by Madison Rayne. The idea here being that Maria isn't quite as experienced in the ring as Madison Rayne, and it shows. Jay Lethal comes in when Madison Rayne is kind of pulling Maria's hair and really trying to get under Lethal's skin, but Matt Morgan hits him with a carbon footprint, and then Madison Rayne, with Jay Lethal down, can pin Maria Kanellis. Not really much to note about the performances or anything like that. It did cool the crowd down as designed. Madison Rayne and Matt Morgan embrace following their victory. Again, their relationship's not that clear. We've not gone into that, but they're certainly enjoying each other's company in the post-match. Jay Lethal down in the ring next to his girlfriend Maria, which is really what this is all about, adding insult to injury, once again belittling his rival. Not only have they potentially ruined their personal life, they're now affecting Jay Lethal's professional life. Maria Kanellis is laid out, the humiliation continuing at the hands of Madison Rayne. While Maria was a wrestler, we are presenting her as somebody who is kind of a non-wrestler in this, in the sense that Madison Rayne is clearly levels above her. The commentators put over what a tough period this has been for Jay Lethal, 2010 ending on another low point after what had been a very promising year for him. He started it very low down, he seemed to have a peak in the middle, specifically around Slammiversary, but now he ends the year, perhaps you could say, back in square one, and this is all part of his character development, so don't worry too much about that. Switching gears towards the main event match, Mr. Anderson is interviewed in the back, and he has a smug look on his face from the moment that Christy Hem begins to speak with him about the upcoming World Heavyweight Championship match. We want everything about Anderson to be detestable, and he bases his promo around the satisfaction that he will feel when he takes the title from the beloved Kurt Angle. He knows that the fans hate him, and that's what's going to make victory taste all the more sweet. He calls Angle one of the most overrated wrestlers in the world, who is living off something that he did 14 years ago. Mr. Anderson seems to be the only one who can see through that, and as a result, he's the only one who doesn't suffer from that mental block that comes with facing wrestling's only Olympic gold medalist. Nobody believes that Anderson is capable of beating Kurt Angle, not the fans, not the boys in the back, nor TNA management. If they did think he could, they probably wouldn't have even made this match. But that's what's going to make tonight's main event all the more sweet for him, when he walks out of the Impact Zone with the World Heavyweight Championship and gets the pleasure of seeing the look on every single one of those doubters' faces. He's going to do a lap of honour around ringside so he can look at every single fan. He's going to cover every single inch of that backstage area before finally making his way to the office of Paul Heyman and knocking on to show him his new World Heavyweight Champion. So a good promo from Mr. Anderson, just hammering home what an absolute dick he is before we go into the final battle between Bryan Danielson and Desmond Wolfe. Again, perhaps not as good as I might have hoped for, but we do have to accept that Bryan Danielson is new to the company, we're building him up, and it is two good performances. This match is significantly longer than their match from Bound for Glory. Without sounding too basic, I want them to have their Ring of Honor match. Those were such great matches. I want it to be brutal, hard-hitting, more physical than anything we've seen before, and eventually Bryan Danielson makes Desmond Wolfe tap out to the cattle mutilation. Sorry that's not the most detailed explanation, but really those matches are on YouTube. Check them out if you want to see what this match was like. For fans of TNA, this would have been something they have never seen before, especially with those extra minutes that are added on the end, where these guys can really go and dig deep into their arsenal and hopefully produce a really enjoyable match. Again, getting the crowd hotter, so another thing where the rating might not be so good, but in terms of the overall show, it can only be a positive. After the match, Bryan Danielson has his arm raised in the ring. As we've put over, this would be the final battle between the two. Both men agreed on that, and as Desmond Wolfe makes his way back to his feet, he looks to approach Danielson. He's quite tentative because, of course, these two guys don't like each other, and they exchange a look where Bryan's kind of saying, what are you doing here? Surely you're not going to try this, but Wolfe does. He extends a hand out to who is essentially his arch enemy, the guy he'd just been defeated by, and like Danielson, the commentators don't understand this gesture. It seems to go against everything we know about Desmond Wolfe, with being defeated twice in a row by this guy. There is some humility in there. Bryan is equally uncertain of Wolfe's intentions and asks him what he wants. Wolfe's kind of put off by this. He feels put on the spot, and it's kind of him showing vulnerability, which we've never seen from him, and quickly he snaps out of it, pulls his hand away, tells Bryan to forget it. Danielson's position is completely understandable because of Wolfe has just attacked him multiple times, for example, and these two clearly just hate each other. Danielson looks confused for a moment, but shrugs it off and returns to his celebrations. A very, very different side of Desmond Wolfe seen there, and we'll see how that goes into his character going forward. After the commentators discuss that and everything that's gone on tonight so far, Paul Heyman comes down to the ring and cuts a good promo, gains heat to the Knockouts Championship storyline, but loses heat to Kurt Angle's storyline, so swings and roundabouts there. Paul Heyman takes a microphone and apologises for interrupting the action. He doesn't like to do this, and in that same sort of sentence or part of the promo, he promotes the two championship matches that are still to come. Sarah Del Rey defending against Hamada, and then of course Kurt Angle versus Mr. Anderson. Speaking about his first year in TNA, Paul Heyman praises the men and women on the roster, saying that it's been a pleasure to work with each and every one of them, well, apart from Mr. Anderson. Heyman says that his vision of TNA wouldn't be possible without their hard work and commitment. It's one thing to write it down on paper, but it's another thing to see those guys and girls go out and put on all these incredible matches, and that hard work gains reward. Paul Heyman announces a new show coming to TNA in 2011. It will replace Explosion. It is a 1-hour Saturday night broadcast called TNA Evolve. Over the last year, TNA has proved that stepping out of your comfort zone and accepting change is vital to moving forward. this roster will get their just desserts as TNA Wrestling debuts on MTV. That premiere will be the start of a huge week to mark the 1-year anniversary of the beginning of this new era, with a special edition of Impact on Thursday, which I'm going to try and build as a pay-per-view type show, which will then allow me to move Genesis to week 4, and then in 2011 pay-per-views will be at the end of the month rather than midway through. 2 nights later, TNA Evolve will debut on MTV. As people who've been watching from the start will know, I was booking TNA and Evolve. This is something that, with a development that's coming in the series, I don't want to give away what's going to happen, but a huge milestone for TNA. MTV is a much larger broadcaster, but doing a 1-hour show will make sure that I can keep the quality tight and it not impact too much on my booking of Impact. Again, I like to base these things in reality, and at the end of 2010, I think on mid-2010, MTV actually aired a 1-hour version of Impact. So the idea here is that if those negotiations had gone on at this time, perhaps we would have suggested this second show. And I'm really interested in how we're going to make TNA Evolve different to TNA Impact, and hopefully people enjoy that. 2011, like I said, huge things coming, but trust me, that is just the tip of the iceberg, provided that I can pull off the thing that I've got planned. A short video package is then played before the Knockouts Championship match, focusing on Hamada's history with the New Age. Beginning the year as a member of the group, Hamada was betrayed at Slammiversary by Jimmy Jacobs. Unlike Awesome Kong, Hamada was unable to bounce back immediately. Kong became the Knockouts Champion just a couple of months later, whereas Hamada has struggled really, but returned to prominence recently in the aftermath of Bound for Glory by standing up to the New Age on a number of occasions. Last month at Turning Point, Sarah Del Rey hit an incredible Royal Butterfly on Awesome Kong and claimed that the former Knockouts champion was gone for good. Hamada confronted Sarah Del Rey about this and gave her a huge scare this Thursday on Impact, gaining a visible pin over the champion. The crowd counted the 1, 2, 3, but the referee was distracted by Jimmy Jacobs at the time. So tonight we go into the Knockouts Championship match with a challenger who knows full well that she is capable of pinning this champion. Despite that, the Knockouts Championship match goes the way of the current title holder, Sarah Del Rey, defeating Hamada in 12 minutes and 10 seconds by pinfall with the double underhook suplex. Again, we want another very physical match. The Knockouts division has developed so much, I think, over this year. It's not where we want it to be just yet, but in terms of the quality of the in-ring wrestling, I think it's come a long way from where it was. Del Rey hitting the Royal Butterfly, as I said, and it is a clean, decisive victory ultimately. Del Rey with a 59, Hamada with a 49, coming out as a 61 overall, and we are starting to see now more consistency within the Knockouts division in terms of ratings. Sarah Del Rey stands tall in the ring, defeating Hamada following that hard-fought contest. While she is clearly feeling the effects of that physical match, those stiff kicks from Hamada, she raises the Knockouts Championship high in the air, proud to once again prove her dominance over the division. She ends the year with the title, and it's going to take something huge to get that title out of Sarah Del Rey's hands, in my opinion. The Queen of Wrestling standing at the top of the mountain. Heading to the back, Kurt Angle responds to Mr. Anderson's words from earlier, appearing calm and focused ahead of his latest World Heavyweight Championship defense. He's been here and he's done it many, many times, so this isn't out of Kurt Angle's usual stride. His response to Anderson is pretty straightforward, saying that Mr. Anderson has always talked a good game and Kurt has always done his talking in the ring. Mr. Anderson has, without doubt, he can't deny, being a thorn in the side of Angle throughout 2010, but that doesn't play into the hands of the asshole like he seems to think it does. Angle says that there are few people in this world who evoke the reaction from him that Mr. Anderson does, and tonight that only ends one way. This is an opportunity for him as much as it is an opportunity for Anderson. Whether it's pinning him in the middle of the ring or making him tap out, Kurt Angle is going to end 2011 as the World Heavyweight Champion and shut Mr. Anderson up once and for all. So a good promo from Angle there, hopefully rebounding the heat that was lost from Paul Heyman's promo. Does well going off script as we go into a video package where we use Paul Heyman as a talking head throughout, and he speaks about the rivalry between these two guys. Starting upon Anderson's arrival in TNA, it didn't take too long for these two men's issues to begin, but it was kind of Kurt Angle who was the original antagonist when he headbutted Mr. Anderson. He lost at the pay-per-view previously to AJ Styles and was just not in the mood for Anderson's obnoxious personality. From there, Mr. Anderson kind of claimed that he was going to let it go, but that was a bluff. He then caused Angle problems at every opportunity, including walking out on him during a tag team match where they'd been put together and costing him a #1 contendership opportunity. At Destination X, Mr. Anderson picked up a controversial victory over Kurt Angle, and when Angle became the World Heavyweight Champion later in the year, Anderson was naturally first in line. At Sacrifice, Kurt Angle defeated Mr. Anderson in his first championship defense, with Anderson moving further and further away from contention with each passing month. However, in Anderson's opinion, Kurt Angle's been on the wane a little bit. His performances have dropped according to the asshole within the last few months, and he feels now is the perfect opportunity to capitalise on that. This coming at the same time as him regaining his focus, looking better than he has since coming to TNA. This is arguably the best Mr. Anderson that we've seen, at least on the evidence of his matches with Jeff Jarrett. Some do still question whether he has truly earned this title shot, but he is determined to bring an end to the World Heavyweight Championship reign of Kurt Angle tonight at Final Resolution. So again, a good segment, and we go now into the World Heavyweight Championship match. And I really didn't expect to see that, a 90 rating. I thought this might actually suffer in terms of the in-ring rating because it was Anderson, who's not really an in-ring guy. You can see he gets a 76 in his individual rating, but Kurt Angle is so good that he can carry pretty much anybody to a Match of the Year candidate. A 96 from him. And I found recently, to talk about the actual in-game booking, that putting Kurt Angle in matches just based on regular seems to help more. There are no specific bonuses or penalties, so I thought if Kurt Angle's getting 96 ratings and potentially losing points because of other stuff in the booking, keeping it regular is a way to ensure that we get them consistently strong ratings. As for the booking of the match itself, it's understandably a hard-hitting match, less of a wrestling match than we've come to expect from Kurt Angle, and it is to Mr. Anderson's credit that he can kind of bring Angle down to his level. Eventually we do get a referee bump. We've not done many of these in the year, but again, with Mr. Anderson being in there, you can put a little bit more smoke and mirrors in here. We've had a lot of straight wrestling matches, Kurt Angle v AJ Styles, Samoa Joe v Kurt Angle. Loads of different guys have challenged Kurt Angle in pure wrestling matches, but here we're seeing more of the sports entertainment style booking, I suppose, with the referee bump. Mr. Anderson brings the title into the ring. He swings it at Kurt Angle, but Angle ducks. Anderson drops the belt, but hits a low blow to Kurt Angle, sets him up for the mic drop onto the title. However, Kurt Angle manages to block that attempt and hits an angle slam to Mr. Anderson, unintentionally, or maybe not. Anderson's head hits the World Heavyweight Championship centre plate, so Anderson, hoisted by his own petard there, screwed over by his own decision to bring the World Heavyweight Championship into play, and when the referee comes back, albeit with a fairly slow count, he is able to count 1, 2, 3. Kurt Angle makes an incredible 10th defense of the World Heavyweight title, 19 straight victories for him. He has without doubt the best record of anybody in TNA, and I will just show you a regular match and All Out, open and pinfall, and it gets a 90, so it does show that you don't always have to go for one of the more spectacular booking notes. Going with a regular match when you've got somebody as good as Kurt Angle can be just as good. And we end the show with Kurt Angle standing tall. Despite it essentially being his own fault, the commentators are sure that Mr. Anderson won't allow that controversial finish to the match lie easily. The World Heavyweight Champion is handed his title as we put over that the wrestling machine will go into 2011 with the top prize in professional wrestling. Taz says that there can be no doubt that Kurt Angle is the wrestler of the year for this year, but as we can see here, it's going into 2011, and this could be one of the most legendary reigns in TNA history. It's certainly the longest of the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Jeff Jarrett held the NWA World Heavyweight title for over a year, so that's a target for Kurt Angle to aim for, and with Lockdown marking the 1 year anniversary of him winning the title, it's only a few months that he has to keep on with the title. As his arm is raised and the commentators look to sign off, Bobby Lashley makes his way out from the back. With it being the last pay-per-view of the year, I just wanted to hit us with something that could kickstart the momentum on that new cycle of build to Genesis 2011, and he was last seen defeating Samoa Joe at Turning Point, but Lashley comes to the top of the ramp and sets his eyes on the World Heavyweight Champion, pointing to Kurt Angle. Lashley's message is very clear, as the commentators remind viewers of the dual sport athlete's recent vow. He did a little sit-down interview where he said that he would become the World Heavyweight Champion in 2011, and it looks like it's going to be very early in 2011 that he puts that theory into practice. I just wanted the pay-per-view where perhaps this is the last time you'll have people's attention for the year. We've really wanted to have two standout moments. Lashley's back and potentially getting another shot against Kurt Angle. They last faced at Slammiversary, and the New Age's success continues, not only with that incredible opening match, but with the Kings of Wrestling holding the titles up in the air and making it clear they want that gold. And that is Final Resolution done and dusted. Unfortunately, it did clash with TLC, but we've struck gold. Everybody's happy with that. These shows going off the air isn't something to worry about either. Part of it is because I've got new deals for those shows. So while it's saying that we've completed our run on 5, we have a different TV deal in Europe and the UK now. Explosion does actually finish its run because of the previously announced TNA Evolved, which is coming to MTV. Larry Sweeney's getting praise from Mickey James. He just got criticised by Jeff Jarrett, I think, in the last show, didn't he? So that's good for him. I'll delete that. Lacey Von Erich and Kiyoshi are probably two of the people on the roster who I'm not sure about re-signing. The vast majority of people in the company I'm really, really happy with, but these are two who haven't done much. There's a chance I'll probably re-sign them. I'll probably give them both 3 months and reassess it around sort of February time. But for the time being, I'm just going to leave it, think it over, see if I can have a look at some other people to potentially come in, and that might change things. But what matters here tonight is that we've had another great pay-per-view, the second best match that we've ever done, and Final Resolution is in the bag. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. While the thumbnail of the next episode might give away what's going to happen anyway, trust me, you are going to want to see that show. Impact coming in a few days' time in-game. But what happens after that show could well change the course of this save forever. Like I said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again very, very soon.